Hey YouTubers, just a few things I want to share with you here. Herald camping has obviously proven that you can't know the day or the hour, but you are supposed to know the season. You're supposed to watch. Revelation 3:3. Remember therefore how you have received and heard, hold fast and repent. Therefore, if you will not watch, I will come upon you as a thief, and you will not know what hour I will come upon you. So, if you're not watching, he's going to come upon you as a thief. In Luke 12, Jesus was speaking to the Pharisees, and he said, "Hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky and of the earth, but how is it you cannot discern this time?" And he was saying that, you can look up the clouds and you can understand what the weather's going to be, but you can't look at the signs of the times and understand that this is the time. Well, this is certainly the time for big things to happen. The tribulation's about to start. I believe the rapture's about to occur. And there's just so many signs going on right now. The biggest one to me is the attempt to divide Israel, to divide Jerusalem. And just the other day, Obama had his Arab Spring speech. And what he was saying was that Israel must base any future peace negotiations on the 1967 borders.
We believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps.
Netanyahu immediately came back and said that he cannot accept that, and that's not ever going to happen because the 1967 borders are indefensible.
The first is that while Israel is prepared to make generous compromises for peace, it cannot go back to the 1967 lines.
There's a great video I've got here for you that I want you to watch if you're interested in seeing why those borders are indefensible. In Netanyahu's response to Obama, he said that if they return to the 1967 borders, the smallest width of Israel would be 8 miles, which is half the circumference of the D.C. Beltway. I grew up in the D.C. area, and the D.C. Beltway is pretty large, but when you think about it, Israel being only half that distance, that is not much at all. And that small distance, the 8 miles, is right near Tel Aviv, and they said that the Tel Aviv airport would be so close that you could just fire a pistol at it from the new Palestine. So, the 67 borders are going to be unacceptable. Now, one thing I'm noticing about this whole situation is that they think they've got Israel cornered. They think they've got them backed into a corner where they're either going to force them into war or force them into just giving away their land to become indefensible. One of the ways they think they've got Israel backed into a corner is that in September, the Palestinians are going to go to the UN and attempt to get recognition as a state. They're going to have the UN declare them as a state, or at least that's the threat they're making. And there's been a huge number of countries that have endorsed that have said that they endorse a Palestinian state. So they have the support to receive statehood through the UN in September, and they're using that as leverage against Israel. And the reason that they're doing that is because if the UN declares Palestine as a state, then Israel has no say in anything. They have no say in the security measures. They have no say in the borders. Pretty much it's just the world declaring Palestine, and they don't care what Israel thinks. So they're using that to pressure Israel into coming into an agreement, into a peace negotiation agreement. And from what I've said in past videos, I believe that the peace treaty that's coming, the confirmation of the covenant that's coming, I believe that it has to be an agreement with Israel. It can't be something done against their will. There's a verse in the Old Testament that talks about their covenant with death. So they make a covenant. They don't get forced into dividing their land, say through the UN declaring Palestine as a statehood or as a state. So in approximately 4 months, Israel has a huge decision to make. They have to come to some kind of negotiated agreement or face the UN declaring Palestine in their land and just taking away whatever they want to take away. Now, the other option that Israel has is the one that I believe is much more likely. I believe that Israel is going to go to war to divert attention away from this peace process. Dr. Owuor, there's a video I'll link to, made a prophecy that Israel is going to fly jets into Iran and bomb their nuclear reactor. And then I would expect that things like Psalm 83, Ezekiel 38 and 39 would come to pass as a result of that. That would be those neighboring nations responding in retaliation for those people coming against Iran. Mainly because the ones that are Israel's immediate neighbors, those are Iran's proxies, like Hezbollah. What's the other one? Is Hamas, I assume. So if Iran gets hit and their nuclear reactor gets bombed into smithereens, then they're going to send their proxies in first. They're going to send in the local enemies first. So I believe that's what we're looking at as far as this situation goes. They're not going to accept the 1967 borders. Netanyahu has openly stated that. And they are not going to allow the UN to declare Palestine as a state. So something has to happen between now and then, within the next 4 months. One last thought about this Israel situation before I move on. There's a video here with J.R. Church where he's talking about Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a Freemason, a big deal Freemason apparently. You can read about him somewhere else, but back in the 1920s, he had a dream that there would be 3 world wars, and the first 2 have already happened exactly according to his dream. And the 3rd World War is planned to be between the Muslims and what they called the political Zionists, Israel. And what their goal is mutual destruction. So I believe that is what the goal is of the Illuminati here, of the New World Order, of the people in charge. They're deliberately bringing these opposing sides into a position where war is required. Why do you think America hasn't done anything to stop Iran's nuclear facilities being built? Why do you think that they have been arming all of Israel's enemies? Why do you think they've been allowing Russia to arm all of Israel's enemies? And then, pretending to be Israel's ally and arming them at the same time. So they're arming both sides of the conflict. They're allowing things that, the Iran situation with nukes, they're allowing that to go on so that Israel must react, so that somebody's going to have to make a move and war is eventually going to break out because they're supporting both sides. All right, last thing I wanted to show you was this fine piece of work by Vega. It's actually at least 3 weeks old, but he sent this to me on Facebook when he first made it. He does a fine job with the graphics here. He sent me other ones. But what this is this shows all the eclipses that are going to occur up until 2020. His chart here shows 2008 all the way to 2020. And everybody should be familiar with what Mark Biltz discovered. It's Biltz, not Blitz, if you look it up. But back in 2008, he had an interview with Prophecy in the News, and he presented what he found, which was a lunar tetrad of 4 consecutive blood red moons in the years 2014 and 2015, and they would each be on a Jewish feast date. This is a very rare occurrence, and 2 of the last times that it happened was immediately after 1967, when the Six-Day War occurred. So that marked a very significant event. The other occurrence was just after 1948, when Israel became a nation, so that also marked a very significant event. There's other tetrads that mark other things, and as far as I remember, there isn't another tetrad that's going to happen on the Jewish feast dates like that for quite some time. So this is a very significant event. Now, if you look at his chart here, you can very clearly see just the way that the eclipses are set up, that there's a clear pattern here. You can look and see that, the beginning of the tribulation is marked, the middle of the tribulation is marked, and the end of the tribulation is marked. And this matches up with so many other signs. I had another video about Psalm 118 being prophetic of the second coming, because J.R. Church also discovered that those Psalms, Psalm 110 through Psalm 118, were prophetic of those years, 2010 through 2018. And there's a bunch of other signs, a 50-year Jubilee, the last Jubilee being 1967, and then the one prior to that was 1917, when Jerusalem was liberated from the Ottoman Empire by General George Allenby. There's a lot more signs that match up with this, but I just wanted to show you this and show you the work that he did because it was so good. There's another chart and another PDF that shows similar signs. I'm also going to put those in the more info below, so you can look at those in your own time. But I just want to say, it is so obvious that this is the time. When they attempt to divide Israel, God is going to move, and they are making a big move to do this by September. Don't forget, there's also this comet Elenin that's coming through in September, and that is a huge sign that I think matches up with this whole situation. Another important thing to look at is this New Madrid situation and the Mississippi flooding. There's a whole lot of resources on YouTube you can look at regarding that, but I do believe that New Madrid, the quake that's going to occur there, is going to be a result of America trying to divide Israel. You can say that, whatever caused, whether it's HARP or whatever, that's not really what I'm addressing. What I'm saying is that God will divide America because we're dividing Israel. And there's past precedents because 2005, America supported the expulsion of Jews from Gaza, and they gave that land over to the Palestinians. And then immediately after we supported that, Katrina happened, and Americans were expelled from New Orleans. So God definitely returns your acts upon your own head if you come against Israel.
The question before us is what role America will play as this story unfolds. For decades, the United States has pursued a set of core interests in the region: countering terrorism and stopping the spread of nuclear weapons, securing the free flow of commerce and safeguarding the security of the region, standing up for Israel's security, and pursuing Arab-Israeli peace.
YouTubers, unless I tell you this, the whole video is pointless. You are not good enough to get into heaven by yourself. God's standard is perfection, and there's no amount of good works that you can do to meet His standards. So you need perfection standing in your place. That perfection, His name is Jesus Christ. He's the truth, the life, and the way. He changed my whole life, and He can change yours as well. He can set you free from addictions, depression, and a whole list of things. Not only that, He'll set you free from hell and give you eternal life. Read the Bible. It's true. This video is evidence. I'll see you next time.